Hello from Gardening at Twensah here in Ireland, and this video is due to a request by someone who watches my videos, Elo Fez, on how to reflower Hippeastrums, or Amaryllis as they're normally called. So we're going to go through it. What a lot of us are left with now at this stage in the game in January is a very sad looking Hippeastrum, and people don't know what to do with it. We want this to reflower next year. I don't want to be buying them again and again. So the first thing we need to do is remove the spent flower heads. If we don't do that, then what happens is the plant puts energy into producing seed, and that detracts from making the bulb bigger and more flowers next year. So we're just going to cut it off here and on this other one here. Now some people will cut off the complete stem, but I like to just leave it as is. What we're going to concentrate on making sure that these leaves continue and grow strong, because the plant gets nourishment now from the leaves, which gets funneled into making the bulb bigger and producing flowers next year. Now is the time that it's working on next year's flowers. So what you mustn't do is cut off the leaves. You must try and preserve the leaves for as long as possible, and watch out for the plant producing more new ones. So what I'm going to do is just stake up the leaves to stop me accidentally breaking them. Put a little stake in here and a little bit of string. You see the leaves are all very floppy from having been grown indoors, so they're very easy to break off, and we don't want that. We want flowers next year. So just tie them in like this, and it just makes it easier to manage and to keep somewhere in the house. As this plant is working on next year's flowers, we need to help it along. So I'm just going to water it. We need to keep this well watered, but at this stage I've added some feed into the water, and this will help bulk up the bulb for next year. I'm now going to move this Hippeastrum to a cooler room in the house until June. The second step to reflowering the Hippeastrum is that in June this is going to be moved outdoors or into the back of the greenhouse if you have a greenhouse. It needs a lot of light, but it does need the outdoor temperatures to help it do well. It's going to continue producing leaves and should grow well all summer. In mid-October, I'm going to remember my Hippeastrum and move it indoors, and that's the thing, they're easy to forget about, so don't forget about them. I'm going to move it into a cool room, I'm going to stop feeding, and I'm just going to keep it moist. And then 10 weeks later, at the end of November I suppose, I'm going to check out my Hippeastrum. If there are any leaves still left, I'm going to cut them off. I'm going to move it to a warmer room in the house and just wait for that flower spike to start coming up.
Joy to the world.
Just a few things to bear in mind. Now, if you bought your Hippeastrum, your Amaryllis, last year in autumn or this year in autumn, it may not flower the following year because the garden centres and the nurseries have forced it to flower, so they've kind of hyped it up, fed it up, and it may need time to normalise after that. So it mightn't flower next year. Don't be disappointed, don't give up. And the other thing to bear in mind is that if your plant has less than 4 leaves, it's unlikely to flower the following year. Things that can go wrong is that if you overwater, the bulb can rot. If your bulb goes mushy, then the plant is gone. But even if it doesn't sprout into regrowth, providing that the bulb is still firm, there's a very good chance that it's going to wake up and get going at some stage. Today we've been working with my Hippeastrum papilio, and it's a wonderful species one. And I'm going to put in here a little shot of how it was when it's in flower. Wasn't that just gorgeous, and well worth a bit of effort to get it to reflower the following year. Now the thing about papilio is that it's a very unusual plant, endangered in the wild, but it's actually an epiphytic bulb. And there are very few epiphytic bulbs about. Epiphytic meaning it's like an orchid, it kind of drapes itself on trees. And it's a bulb, so a very unusual one and worth going to some effort for. So that's it. That was my guide on how to reflower Hippeastrum, Amaryllis, whatever you call it. Now please, next year, don't discard your Amaryllis. Keep it, get it to flower the next year, and you'll be so pleased with yourself. Thanks very much for watching. That's all for now. Bye.